Hello, everybody. Welcome to Optical Obsessed, episode 26 here. And I was just literally panicking at 2 p.m. today because surprisingly, I don't always know what I'm going to talk about. It's usually at the whim where I'm under stress and I got to make a decision. And this is something I felt like talking to you about tonight. Anybody like that? Does anybody operate better under stress? That could be like, oh man, I got to get these glasses done. They said they're going on a vacation in a week and you really hustled to get it done. Or it could be like even packing to go on a vacation. Like I'm so almost better at it if I have 3 hours before the flight. It means I just got to grab everything I can and hustle. True. Endorphins are life. I would do that all the time in college. Like, oh crap, I got this exam. Or even better yet, my biggest mistake, which actually came out really good, is I had like 30 days to write a 25-page paper about something called the water hyacinth. I was an environmental studies major, and I had to write like a legit paper, 25 pages, sources cited and everything, and I just banged it out in the library. It was miserable, but I did it. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about opening your own optical, and I made it pretty clear in the email. If you just got the text and you didn't see it, I have no desires to open an optical at this point in my life, just because it's just not what I want to do. I'm so anxious to, be out places. I just don't want to be stuck in a store, a bricks and mortar store. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful thing. And a lot of times, which I'm going to go through here, is a much safer, easier path than a lot of other paths are in the industry, because bricks and mortar can be very profitable and very lucrative if you do it correctly. So this is going to be a slide deck way of doing things tonight. So we're going to keep it very traditional. I want everybody to chime in. And I think I have the chops to open a location. I think I could do it. And if any owners are in here, if you guys have any ideas, let's all bounce them off each other and see if we can collaborate. One thing I would like to see in this profession is I would like to see opticians be more entrepreneurial, because, well, let me phrase the question to everybody in the audience. How many independent opticals do you think exist? And that means they could have let's just put it this way. How many optician-owned practices, offices do you think exist in the United States? Just throw out your number. You got all 50 states. How many practices, offices are run by an optician? And some states do not allow it. Like Kansas, you cannot employ a doctor. So those are considerations. Well, a few is a few 45 or a few 8,000. 263 independent opticals. Okay. I think 263 is way off. Maybe I should rephrase it. Just, you got a store, they sell frames, they sell eyewear. Maybe they have an exam lane. Maybe they're just an optical only. I'm guessing there's probably around 5,000 stores, because I was just counting up the number of stores in Kansas City where I grew up that are just optician only. I was like, all right, there's probably 10 I can count. And then there's Wichita and this city and that city. I'm like, okay. Then you go to some place like California, New York, there's like a ton of places, but just throwing random numbers out there. All right, let's hop into it here. I'm going to go through my methodology that I just came up with on the whim. Let's go back to my presentation. Present. Okay, so you guys can see my screen. Looks good. All right, so opening an optical cold is what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to share my dad's story because I think he gives a great example. So he opened cold. He's obviously an optometrist, and he opened in 1983. This is an actual picture of my mom and dad standing out front of the location. I'm getting close because I can't see the little sign. It says appointments now available, sitting in the window. This is at, I can't even remember the address. I don't know why. Anyways, this is on a main drag, and I'm going to show you another picture. And he opened cold after just 1 or 2 years working for another doctor, and he just did not want to work for somebody else. He had a nice awning. It's very 1980s looking. And so he chose to have walking traffic. And we're going to go through all the types of locations, financing, everything here throughout this presentation. And feel free to ask questions as we go. So here he is. This obviously photo is older than his practice. It's black and white, but I at least wanted to show the old theater that was next to him. So this is called Dickinson Theater, and it's a movie theater. It's actually a beautiful wedding venue now, right there. And I think it had 3 or 4 movie theaters in there. And so that was a good place to be, because you had, not only did you have traffic down the main drag of the town, there's about 10,000 people in that town, and it's a metro, it's a neighborhood of Kansas City, so it's about 10-12 minutes away from Kansas City, and it's a suburb, safe. They're all like World War II homes mostly, so a lot of what I call love boxes, 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. It's not a very affluent, rich area, but also not necessarily poor. So it's just kind of like basic middle class, maybe a little lower than middle class area. And then, of course, you could drive literally a mile this way or 4 miles that way, and you could have $3 million homes right there. So that's where he chose to be. I'm going to switch over here. That's Mission, Andrew. That's Mission. Hey, Chrissy, thanks for being here. We're just talking about location. So busy cars, a lot of people driving by. And when you open an optical, you got to think to yourself, how the heck am I going to get business? You are a nobody. You may have a following because you've been an optician in your local area, but it's not like you can just call all these people and steal them from the other location that you've been working at for 5, 10, 20 years. Like, it's not a very kosher thing to do. So you need to develop your own clientele. And so one way is also to have street visibility. I just pulled this picture from Google here. And This is a freestanding location. You got good street visibility. It looks like there's some other businesses around there. You get that natural marketing, good signage on the building, of course. Okay, so we talked about being in the strip center, busy street. We've talked about something that's a little more freestanding like this. You're going to have less traffic because it's not all these businesses clustered together. There's also walking traffic when you're in a strip center or some type of downtown area. It could be a small downtown, or it could be a downtown like, Los Angeles, or in Nashville, where you get, very populated streets. So I don't know if Matt's in here, but this is Matthew Smith. And he opened a store 2 or 3 years ago. And I just wanted to share his example because he started like totally micro small. And what you don't realize is Matthew took a really hard route. And this has nothing to do with Matthew. Like, he crushed it. He did a great job. But I just want to share with you what he went through from my lens. So here it is. Looks like a great store. But here's the problem. He is in a some type of shopping center. And this is the inside. I just got these crappy pictures off Google. So here's what it looks like from the outside. It's called Warehouse Row. I'm assuming there's 20, 30 other types of businesses in there that sell random, high quality goods. In Chattanooga, this is in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So that's where he is. And this is inconvenient. And he's also a destination. So what I consider a destination is people have to actually plan time out of their day to park. And I think there is a parking structure around there because I did see it on Google Maps. And then they got to go in there, and there's a lot of other distractions there. And then they got to go in, and it's a whole thing. Versus my dad's original location, it was off the main drag in the city. You just pull right in, you park, you open the front door. So when somebody is deciding, I want to go visit Matthew Smith at that glasses guy, they're like, I'm going to go visit Matthew Smith. This is a special event that's going to happen, which can be a good thing or bad thing, because a special event means they plan to go there. They're going to spend time, and they're probably going to open their wallet and make a purchase because they really committed to doing that whole thing. Now, with my dad's practice, we'll just go back to that. It's like, yeah, I'm going to swing in, going to open the door, peek in the window, see what's going on. People could go out to dinner. Then they could look at the little frame displays in the window, after they're closed. And so you have this kind of like 24/7 marketing going. Matthew Smith has his shop here, and when Warehouse Row is closed, it closed. There's nothing going on. Now, there is traffic that comes inside this mall, so that is a benefit as well. There's other models. You could do the medical building model, which my dad also did. And that model was, I'm going to be in an office building with other tenants, and people are captive. They came there to see you. They've made a conscious decision to do commerce with you. Now you have to attract them and into your office via marketing, a good website, good reviews. So I went through some of the obvious. I'm going to peek back here. I'm looking at what Irene said, and I don't remember his name. So right next to an ophthalmology group before they got into opening their own stores. Okay, so Irene says, yes, you could open up right next to an ophthalmology group. That's definitely something you could do. You could even work out some type of relationship with the ophthalmologist. But when you're choosing a location, you need to study it. You probably should just sit in your car for 3-4 hours and just watch the trends that are happening nearby. So you can't just choose a location because it's cheap rent. You can't just choose a location because it's in a super busy area and you think oh man, they're so busy on a Friday night. I'm going to be slammed. It's like, no, everybody's going to dinner on a Friday night and they're not necessarily shopping for glasses. So it's not as intuitive as you think, but you just have to use your best judgment to make these decisions. Any real estate questions in terms of choosing a location? I think, and I forgot that this outfit here is my business outfit. I should probably go over that. So I got my sport coat, my tie, and a t-shirt just to show I'm serious about this. Okay, so I think finding a location is fairly easy. I know if I were to go find a place, there's a place 3/4 mile from me right here. It is in Winooski, and I would go in the downtown area. There are some coffee shops. There's some like yoga studios. There's like a vinyl record place. There's a brewery. Probably where I would go. Okay, great. Your whole native village is listening to a spiel about optical entrepreneurship. That's great. Um, so let's go here. Okay, so next we're gonna let's go to the money part, because this is what really matters. We can all find a dream location. That's easy. So I'm gonna look at a standard lease, and if there's any business owners who are in here, if you wouldn't mind sharing, whether you're on your first location or you have 3 locations now, or maybe you started off with 1 and now you just upgraded to a bigger location. Let's look at the economics of things, because about 40 years ago, I thought I wanted to open an optical. And so I looked it was about 2 miles from my house, so less than 10 minutes driving distance. And I feel like when you open a business, one of the most important things is that you're close, because you're going to live it and breathe it potentially for the next 40 years. Hopefully you harvest and make money on it and can sell it, but you're going to be living there, and it's going to be an extension of your life, and it's going to be a part of your identity, and you should enjoy going there. And it's almost like an oasis. I remember I would always go to the office when I was working with my dad on Saturdays and Sundays, not every week, of course, but sometimes I just pop in on a Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. and I would edge jobs or do paperwork or just have peace and quiet. And that was the only time. So let's look at some economics. And what I did is, you're going to see a big number on here. It says $118,000. And I'm sure many of us just don't have that sitting in our bank account, and that's okay, because we're going to go in debt to make this happen. So an average, would anybody like to share how much square footage is your office that you work in, or maybe that you have worked in if you're not currently working in a bricks and mortar location? So what's the square footage of your location? So my dad's location, when I worked in his office, was 1,607 square feet. But that was a different model. It was 8 lanes, big optical. It was very busy. It's in the Midwest. There's plenty of space. Real estate is cheaper. Okay, so Catherine says 1,800 square feet. Andrew's at 1,500. And we have Michael Edelstein at 900 square feet. And so that's an interesting thing too, is when we have 1,000 square feet. Okay, so I think I'm right on the money here with what I'm going to be talking about. And I mean, if some of you guys don't care, you can share what you pay in rent. I don't think you should be embarrassed. I think you should always be proud of where you rent, whether it's expensive or cheap. Sometimes we don't choose the economics of where our families are. So let's say you have a $2,000 a month lease, which is very inexpensive. And I'm going to put this in, let's go in, just trying to think. Okay, it's going to be in Texas, and it's not Houston. I don't know. What's some town within Texas that has 250,000 people maybe? So Michael's at 2,700 per month. Okay. Catherine's at 2,000. Okay. Amarillo. We're going to go open up in Amarillo, Texas. All right. Wonderful. So let's look at the economics of Amarillo, Texas. And I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second. We're going to share again so I can get this other tab up. And I'm just going to share. Okay. All right, so Amarillo, there's 200,000 people in there. That's fantastic. So we have got a decent population. It's close to, let's see what other cities it's close by. We want to make sure that we can pull from more people than with just our community. All right. Oh, okay, so it's at the tippy top almost up there. Okay. All right, so that's where we're going to open a location. Let me go back to my screen here. Okay. Yeah. And Sandy, where is that? Where is the 4,100 square feet you're thinking about opening? All right, go back to the economics. I'm paying $2,000 a month, And that means I need $24,000 a year to be in business. So you got to decide, do you have that in your bank account, or can you get a loan for that? And we'll go through loans. Now, I'm going to enter into a 3-year lease. Guys, this is not like renting your home where you can just get a year lease and then you give your 60-day notice and you're out. You have a financial commitment and ink to pay your landlord, pay them on time, and you're in it for the long run. So what is your, when you guys signed to open a location, what was your lease initially? It's in Tennessee. Okay, awesome. So what was your lease initially? And if you're just joining, there's 19 people here. So thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Right now we're going through the financial model. All right, so now I'm going to get 1,500 square feet because that's all I need. It's just me. I'm Perry Brill. I'm an optician. I don't have a lot of things. I need to open the store. Now I'm deciding I need to buy my frames. So I'm going to start with 400 frames. I've decided that's a variety that I like, and maybe I'm going to carry 5 to 8 brands. And I'm going to go fairly deep in all those brands, 50 to 60 frames each. And my wholesale average price point is $100 per frame. So I did some really simple math. I took 100, I multiply it by 40, and now I have $40,000 in inventory, which is, I could just go buy a car. Why don't I just go buy a car for that? Why don't I go put a fat down payment on a house and buy the house of my dreams, right? So now, what's going to happen is you're going to negotiate all these things with your real estate agent, and we're going to talk about that. You're going to have an agent, and your landlord may have an agent, or the landlord, if they're an experienced landlord, they're going to negotiate things themselves. So now I got to build out the space, because before it was a dog grooming place. And so, the dog groomer had concrete floors. It was very sterile. They just had some crappy wire shelving and some bays. They had some water, to rinse the cute puppy dogs in. So I'm going to do drywall, flooring, paint, electrical, and anything that's structural inside this place. And that's going to be $20,000 to pay the contractor to do that. It could be more, it could be less. I really don't know. I just took a wild guess on it, honestly, but it sounds pretty accurate to me for a quality job. Now we're going to get some displays and furniture. You have a few options for that. So you can, my light was about to fall, panicking. So you can go to, there it falls. Not a very good setup tonight. So you can hire a optical merchandising group, and they will design it, source all the products from you. Most of them from China. Or what I would do probably is, at this place, I do it myself. I would either hire an interior designer, or if you can't afford to have an interior designer, mock up something for, $3,000 to $5,000. You can get crafty, and you can go out to Facebook Marketplace, to Craigslist, to thrift stores, and buy everything kind of secondhand. You can do the whole IKEA thing, but we're going to go through why I don't think you should do the whole IKEA look, even in your first location. Amarillo, we got an Amarillo fan in the house. Crystal must live there or something. Awesome. All right, so now we're going to buy some miscellaneous supplies. I need PD sticks, and I need a lensometer, and some tools, ultrasonic cleaner. Maybe I love tinting, and that's a big part of my office. And I'm going to get some nice mirrors, high quality optical mirrors, maybe a magnified mirror. So you get all that crud. I'm going to buy a computer. So I need a good computer. I'm going to get 16 gigs of RAM. I'm just going to get a laptop. One laptop's good enough. So I just got a really nice PC, or maybe you just use your MacBook that you already have. Okay, now the POS, your point of sale system, EHR, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be about $2,000 a year, $200 a month. And then you need some insurance, because if you get robbed, if you have a fire, a flood, a hurricane, I don't care. You got to protect your ass. Just like you have car insurance, things do happen. So that's $4,000 a year. So how would you feel if you had to spend $118,000 right now to open a store? It's very intimidating. Yeah, so John said it good. And John, I don't even know, what is 50? I think John is saying budget $50 to $60 per square foot. So we're going to talk about getting sweaty. I have not zero, but I have minimal capabilities in home improvement or doing things myself. I hate painting. I don't know how to lay floor. What else? I'm the type of person when I put up a shelf or a painting, I put a hole in the wall and then I got to put the spackle in it and then I got to fix the hole. Like I'm just not good at it. 75,000 for a $1,500 build out, 1,500 square foot build out. Okay. So now we're going to move on. We talked about some money. So you could start more frugal. I'm with you guys. Cheaper flooring, do some work yourself, paint yourself. There's $4,000 in savings. You could buy secondhand furniture, go to Facebook Marketplace. I don't know if anybody shop on Facebook Marketplace. It's amazing, honestly. You can find some crazy, beautiful antiques, nice Italian furniture, custom made things. When people move, they just have to get rid of stuff. And we're going to talk about TI, tenant improvements, for sure. You could have less frames. So instead of having 400 frames, let's have 300. Now you just cut your budget by 10K. You could also have a smaller space. So I took this $118,000 budget that I think I need to open my dream location. And I basically took 60% of that. So I reduced the price by 40%. So I decided I'm going to open for $70,000, $70,800. So my question is to you, and I want you to evoke some emotion from this. When you're looking at this photo, just whether this is a house, an office, whatever, compare and contrast these photos for me. I want all 19 of you to write at one sentence what you think this photo evokes from you. Well, there's a left and a right photo, so compare and contrast. So if you guys could put left thought, right thought, I want to know. So John says medical office. Right's luxury. The colors on the right are vibrant. Okay, cool. Classy for sure. So things I want you to think about as we're going through this is, guess who's got to clean this thing? You. You have to take care of every little thing. Peggy Sue is going to come in with her pumpkin spice latte. It's that time of year, and she's going to spill it. And you just bought a really nice floor, like amazing floor, expensive carpet, nice pile up to it, good cushion, and they're just going to spill it. And now what are you going to do? Now you got this stain on there. So when you're building commercial, it's not like building home. Commercial materials have a different quality and a different price of flooring. And it's expensive. And my recommendation is, especially in the flooring, so dry today, is you don't want to go cheap, because there's nothing worse than cheap flooring, because you're going to rip it up in a year. Yes, we could definitely do that. So, all right, so we're going to move on. You have one chance to make a first impression and a lifetime customer, and I want you to attract your ideal customer. So to everybody in here, who is your ideal customer? And it doesn't have to be a rich person at all to run a really good optical. So as for me, I can't afford the most luxurious place in the world, but what I can do is I'm going to pick a few items that I think are really important to me, and I'm going to just make them razzle dazzle. For me, the floor has to be on point. The floor has to be amazing. I want it just to be so special when people walk in and they remember that. And then I'm probably going to have one or two really nice statement pieces of furniture that I'm going to overspend on, $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000 for them. And then I'm going to be frugal on the rest. So now, I know you guys can handle the build out, but how are you going to negotiate this? You're not a financial consultant. You don't have an MBA. I mean, how are you going to negotiate this stuff? So what you're going to do is you're going to get a real estate agent, and you're going to get a commercial real estate agent, and they're going to negotiate the lease for you. And so don't do things by yourself, even if you think you can, even if you think you're a great negotiator. There's a lot of legalities in there that you're not going to understand. So one of the things is there's something called Tenant Improvements TI, and basically you can negotiate remodel expenses, new flooring, new ceiling tiles, new paint, all sorts of stuff within your lease. And generally, the longer you stay in your location, so if you say I'm going to sign a 5-year lease instead of a 3-year lease, well, now you're going to get more funds because to make improvements to the location because you've committed to a longer term. Now, you might be asking, why would the landlord give me free money? Well, part of why they want to give you this money is because, one, they want you to sign a longer lease because it's easier for everybody to have one tenant. And another reason is after your 5-year lease, if you decide to leave, guess what? Your landlord is left with a nice space. They now have this nice floor. They have better plumbing. The electrical upgrades you made, whatever happened is now theirs. But how are we going to get the money? How are we going to get the money? How did you guys get the money? Who took a loan? Who took a business loan? Has everybody in here taken a loan of some sort? Let me ask that. Whether it's school, a car loan, a bank loan, a mortgage. Has anybody? I mean, come on, raise your hand. Say me. I've taken a loan. All right, a business loan. And Sandy, how did you get a loan? Did you walk into your bank and say, "Hey, I want to borrow some money"? College and mortgage. So you're going to get a loan. So what I would do is I would go to my local banking relationship, and which is First National Bank of Omaha. And I would say, "Hi, my name's Perry. I would like to open a business, and I would like to get a loan." They may want to see a business plan. They may want to see a slide deck, your projections. Just go talk to a banker. You don't need to know anything about business. They're going to tell you exactly what they need. They may ask to see your finances, any assets you have. Maybe you own a car, a house, any asset that they could repossess if you don't pay your loan. So if I don't pay my $118,000 back over 10 years or 20 years, then they can come take my car. And at least they'll have something. So that's one way. You can call Bank of America. Plenty of people are out there willing to give you a loan, including the Small Business Association? Administration. Small Business Administration. SBA.gov. You can go to it. You could ask your parents for money. Don't feel bad. If you got rich parents, ask them for money. Why not? So some families have that good relationship with their kids. They trust their kids, and if they lose the money, they just accept that was my child, and that's what went down. So you could ask your parents for the money. Maybe they give you half the money. I don't know what it is, but don't be afraid and don't feel like a lesser of a human because you asked your parents for money. I've asked my parents for money many times. Not large sums of money, but at points in life, you need some money. You could use your savings. So now the problem with using your savings is you need to decide there's one thing that matters most in life when you're opening a business. And what matters most is that you can sustain yourself for probably 6 to 12 months without making a dime. So that means your rent, your groceries, your kids, your health insurance, emergencies, Christmas gifts, Hanukkah gifts, everything. And so you need to be able to have funds available when shit hits the fan, when there's political riots, when there's just things that are completely out of your control, or maybe it's just a slow start to your business and that's just the way it is. But the risk of using your savings versus getting a loan is the interest rates are low in businesses. So you could have an interest rate of 5%, 10%, depends on your credit score, 3%. And I would rather use what's called other people's money, OPM. Always use other people's money because I want to make sure that I have a safety net. You could use credit cards. Here's my credit card. Here's my entrepreneur credit card. And so I use credit cards in my business, and you're able to float things for 30 days. And so that's a fantastic way of getting started. One thing you could take advantage of is 0% interest for the first 18 months on a credit card. I've done it many times. So like, okay, your credit limit's 15,000. You don't have to pay any interest on your balance, just pay the minimum. And so, that's a form of money too. A little much riskier though, because you have to pay on time. Yeah, credit unions. Yeah, credit unions are fantastic. When I was buying a car 4 or 5 years ago, my bank was terrible. The interest rate was high. They didn't want to give me enough money. I went to Alliant Credit Union. If you're looking for a great bank, Alliant Credit Union, amazing customer service, amazing app too. And they were very friendly and they gave me a nice loan. You did your mortgage online. Okay. So credit cards. Now you could also open a line of credit. So a line of credit, let me define what that is. So I'm in the dark. Okay, so this is my bank account, First National Bank of Omaha. I blocked out my numbers. And so a line of credit basically means I'm going to get a line of credit for $30,000 is what I applied for. And the bank's going to say, basically what it is you have access to capital, to money that you can spend right now, but I'm not taking it out physically, developing interest. So let's say I open my business, I feel really secure, and I got enough money in my savings to stay alive for 6 months without any income. But then all of a sudden, tornado hits. It just demolishes everything. I'm like, crap, I have no customers, or I'm getting one customer every 2 days. And so what happens is I have a $30,000 line of credit where I'll say, look, this week I really need $5,000. Maui Gym wants to get paid. They're sending me bills. They're sending me collections. My contractor still wants to get paid. So I'm going to dip into that line of credit. I'm going to take $5,000 out of there to pay Maui Gym. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to start accruing interest on that line of credit. And it could be 5, 10%, 12%, whatever your credit score allows. And so, but what happens is then let's say 3 months later, I have a really great month and I make a good sum of money. I can now pay off, I could pay that line of credit down. So I'm going to pay off that $5,000 I just took out. And now my line of credit, I went from having a $25,000 line of credit now back to a 30 because I paid it off. So that's what a line of credit is. And if every business should have a line of credit because it's free to open and it's just access to money when you need it. So now you got to, not necessarily going in chronological order, but you got to register your business with the IRS, set up your LLC, your S Corp, C Corp, B Corp, whatever Corp. That's not my specialty. And so basically gets you a tax ID so you can submit your taxes, and your business is separate from your personal, because right now I have a business, it's Entrepreneur LLC, and my core forms of income are my remote staffing agency and consultation and software. So I hired an attorney because I don't freaking know. So this is my actual attorney. This is David. His name's David Nachman. He's local to where I grew up. My dad uses him for an attorney. He's fought patient battles with my dad. We fought vendor contracts with just crooked people. But he also does good things like helping me set up my corporation. It only costed me, $300 for him to help me do it, and it would have took me forever, and I would have chose the wrong thing. So he did that for me. He also negotiated my father's lease. Because my dad owned real estate, and so he would deal with all the tenants. And so a good just CPA or CPA, a good attorney can negotiate real estate for you if they understand real estate. It's not that hard once they know. Or you can also have your CPA help you set up your business licensure. Now let's go into the finances part, because some people are thinking, man, I'm never going to be able to pay off $70,000, and you very well may not. And so you may need to work part-time. And that means you need to stay in your job wherever you are. You could be working at Target, optometry practice, ophthalmology, another optician. You could be working at the car wash. I don't care. But if you need to be making your salary of $45,000, $60,000, $80,000, whatever you're currently making to sustain, you should do that. And you're going to be open in your location 3 days a week. And you don't want to feel bad about that. And so maybe you're only open 24 hours a week and you slowly inch your way up to that 40 hours or whatever you want to be open. Maybe you are open from 2 to 8 p.m. every day. So maybe in the morning you work a job, and then from 2 to 8 p.m., so those 6 hours, you work at your own location. And it's going to be a long hours. To the business owners out here, how many hours do you work a day? And this is not what I'm going to call a pissing competition. Hey, I work this many hours. But like as a business owner, maybe even when you were younger, I mean, how many hours did you work a day? If you have any realization. So I'm going to put it on there. Okay. I'm going to put the question on the screen. Okay, so we have Alicia. Alicia, how long have you been in business? How many years? And then we have Seda that says 12 to 14. So what we call that is a half day. A half day is a business owner's, it's not a 4-hour shift, it's a 12-hour shift because it's just hard to get everything done. 30 years. Wow, congratulations. That is amazing. Really, congratulations. Yeah. So all right, so even if you work 7 to 8 hours, that's great. Okay, so now we have to manage our debt. We got this part-time job. I got the loan. I got my credit line. I got a new credit card. And man, we got a lot of money that we owe people. So you can manage your debt by, we talked about tenant improvement allowances. There's things that you can negotiate with your lease, and these are deferred rent, for instance. It could be, hey, I'm not going to pay rent for 3 months or 6 months, or maybe you get your first 6 months rent free. So let's go back to our original situation. We were paying $2,000 a month for rent, but the landlord, we've negotiated that if I sign a 5-year lease, the landlord is going to give me 6 months of free rent. So that's $12,000 that I just saved. $12,000. I don't have that stress of paying that $2,000 every single month, which is amazing. And then I'm going to negotiate terms on from all the frame companies because I'm a broke young man and I'm starting an optical. So I have 90-day payment terms on frames. So these are just a few things that you could do. So now let's get into the fun part. What would I do as a modern optical that I'm opening, and how would I want to arrange myself to be successful? So the way I would do it is I would be very organized and not self-service. And self-service means someone can walk in, you have frames everywhere, not disorganized by any means, but you have a lot of frames on display. It could be 300 frames, it could be 1,000 frames, but you have frames here, and they're sitting on walls or shelves or pegs, whatever. This means you're going to have to help everybody. And so this is a beautiful custom piece of furniture in Antwerp, Germany, or Belgium, I think. And this thing, how many frames do you think this piece of furniture holds? I'm going to give you scale of it. How many frames does this piece of furniture hold? Webcam's pointing in the wrong direction. There we go. 1,100 frames. Wow. I have no clue. I'm asking everybody here. So I want an easy way to organize my frames. I want a one-man show. And maybe I have my brother, sister, girlfriend. Maybe my mom wants to come in, 10 hours a week just to help me. 800. All right. Okay. So this is an easy way to store frames and organize them without the tyranny and the demand and the stress of having to clean everything, having your customers touch all the demo lenses. You can organize it by brand, by color, by size, label the drawers. This is an amazing way to stock frames on a very low budget as well and make it look beautiful. And I would have this custom made for myself by a local carpenter. Can't be more than this could cost you $2,000. It could cost you $10,000. Depends on, your wood. Then in my store, because I'm a one-person show, I got to make things simple. I would personally, I'm a minimalist person, but I do like, things posh as well. I would have minimal things on the wall, just some highlight pieces, maybe some bestsellers, and I get just some basic, simple shelving. Nothing fancy. I don't need a lot of furniture for people to sit on. So I've already reduced my expenses extremely. I'm not going to get these elaborate displays by iDesigns or Optical Marketing Group or any of the other groups that make these massive displays, and it's going to cost me a lot of money for installation. I got to keep things simple. So I do have a window because I'm in a main shopping area. So I'm going to show some displays so people know I am an optical, I am retail. I have a nice long table where I can do the consultations. I could host wine parties. I could host cheese. I could have events in here. I have places for people to sit. This doesn't really look like an optical. That's what I would do in terms of merchandising. I would never, ever, ever, ever want the pain in the butt of shit everywhere. So this means that people are not going to be able to come in and roam around and shop. You're actually going to have to help them. That's going to be a certain customer. So when you have two customers at once, you're going to have to work with two customers at once and be able to handle that. People just won't be able to browse around and shop. That drawer, you can make it accessible to patients if you want them to be able to open it. But personally, I would control the whole thing. So you're going to be dead ass slow when you open, just to let you know. Did any business owners here ever just like really sweat when they're slow? I do. I sweat. I was slow. I was slow 2 weeks ago. I'm like, man, why aren't people knocking on my door? My phone is not ringing. So you got to be slow, but I don't want you to panic. Your secret weapon, including mine, is we can work unlimited hours. And you shouldn't work to the bone. You shouldn't stress yourself out. You shouldn't neglect your spouse. You shouldn't neglect your family. But you can work unlimited hours, and you're going to have to work a lot in the beginning. And hopefully you enjoy it. Because every dollar you make is your dollar. You can be open when others are not. Why do people... Well, yeah, let me back up. There's only one grocery store here that's open 24/7. It's called Price Chopper, and that's their strategy. Is they're open 24/7. Do they make a lot of money at night? Probably not, but they're open when others are not. So perhaps you should be open when others are not. The 6 to 8 p.m. crowd, people have worked. Now they need to get an eye exam, or maybe people have reverse work schedules. You have moms. You have people that need service, and you could be there. So let the optometry practice and the other places service the daytime people, and you could service the nighttime people. You could be open on Sunday. Even if you're open on Sunday 12 to 4, is that a sacrifice you're willing to take to at least spur some growth in business? All right. So that is the presentation. I want to hear just questions. Your new location only did $2,750 last month. Look, it happens. $2,750. So I want to go through the economics of opening a location. So I'm just going to open a Google Doc here because this is why we're in it. That's why we want to open a business, is because we want to open it up to make money and also for independence. Because some of us don't like having a boss breathing down our back. Some of us just want to want to choose when we want to be opened and closed. So I remember I convinced my dad that for Christmas and New Year's, we're always closed the 26th. I don't care if the 26th of December is a Thursday or a Friday. We close the 26th, the 25th, and the 26th. We always close New Year's Day, and we also close January 2nd. We made that decision as business owners because we were tired and we wanted the break. And the money didn't matter to us. We wanted to relax. You can choose when you go on vacation. You can choose if you're late to work and no one's watching you punch the clock. But entrepreneurship it's not all hyped up. It seems glorious, but at the end of the day, when you get your tax bill and you owe the government $30,000 for profiting, it's also kind of a crappy feeling. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I got to pull up one number. So, question: is anybody here really thinking about opening a location in the next 5 years? Because we're here to support you. Okay. Multiple. 4 more. Oh my God, we have some entrepreneurs in here. Okay. And why your second location? Okay. And why, John, why are you opening multiple locations? Why? It's a pain in the butt. Why would you want more? I'm getting you a hard time. Andrew, why more? It's total pain in the butt. I know your struggles. We talk a lot, John. So, buying a practice. Navendi wants to buy a practice. She wants to do the optometry thing. Yes. Love it. Get after it. Okay. And then Catherine, I see if you want to come on stage, I would love for you to come on here. I'll invite you on stage. You can accept it and you can share your experience. But I'm going to go through the economics while Catherine's deciding if she wants to come on stage. All right, so let's talk the money. All right, so let's break this down, guys. I've made it very clear. If you sell 2 pairs of glasses a day at an average price of $500, and this is all private pay, we're not taking insurance. And there's 240 working days in a year, so there's a lot of holidays and weekends. So I'm going to take those 240 days and I'm going to pretend I sold 2 pairs of glasses each day. So that's going to equal $240,000 in gross collections. That means I have 200. When I go to my POS, I pull a report, and it's going to say I did $240,000. I swiped it all in credit cards. Now, your average optometry practice is probably making anywhere from 13% to 18% to 20% profit margins. Because optometry has a lot of bloat with insurance, staff, a whole other host of things. So in an opticals can be more profitable because you have less, I'm not going to say less cost of goods. It's just the complexities are less and the predictability is easier in retail many times. Hey, Catherine, how are you? You can come on video or not. Doesn't matter to me, but rule practices are undervalued and lightweight. 100%. We should talk about rule. I don't know. Okay. You have to turn your microphone on. All right, so we're going to go back to this example. So we have made 200. How would you guys say it's a successful practice? A successful office is making $240,000. Is that good?
No.
What do you think? Good or bad? It's definitely enough to survive on. It's great. It's great for a 1 to 1.5 person show. Maybe 2 people. But let's break it down, guys. Let's break it down. So within this $240,000, you're going to need to pay yourself a salary because remember you have debt and you're not a rich woman or man. So we have $240,000. Now we're going to subtract out. I'm going to pay myself something really modest. Paid myself $60,000, and then I'm just going to say I'm the only employee. Maybe my a wife or someone steps in and they don't really get paid. They just support the family. So now we're at $180,000. Okay, so we have a lot of money we spent. So we just spent. Let's say I turned the whole inventory 1 year. We got lucky. So I spent $40,000 in inventory. So that's another. I'm going to minus that. So now we got 40,000. Because I had to repurchase all those frames again. So I don't know. Let's say we're at 1.
And your loan payments.
and then we got the lease. And so I'm not going to write it all down here, but what you're going to find is that traditionally in business, it's a third, a third, a third. So a third, you have a third payroll, you have one third space, and you have one third cost of goods. Those are frames, cleaning cloths, glasses, spray. Now in business today, it's not quite like that anymore. It's not necessarily a third, a third, a third. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I forgot one thing. You have profit, so we have to make the profit. So, in this situation, we have 1/4 cost of goods. You have 1/4, we call it lease. Everywhere it's so different. 1/4 payroll, and then we have 1/4 profit. And so that leaves us with that profit margin of $60,000. That's if you really manage your money well. There's so a lot of things unpredictable. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that $60,000, which is not much money at all. It's like hardly anything. You're going to reinvest it. So I'm going to you can buy an edger. That's $30,000, $40,000. You're going to get a payment plan on that. You could also say, man, I want to buy another frame line. Okay, that's $5,000. I want to get half an employee. Okay, great. I just got half an employee, and that employee is going to cost me $30,000 a year because it's half an employee. They're part-time. So you can see it really dwindles your dollars down very, very quick in that first year. And that's why it's really important to remain lean as possible. Hey, Catherine, can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I think it's my audio. Give me 1 second. Can you guys hear Catherine?
Hello?
Hey, Catherine, can you speak? I want to. Okay, they can hear you. Okay. Give me 1 second. I think it's my sound settings.
Okay.
Wasn't prepared to talk to people. Let's see. I might just put my headphones in. I think that might work best.
Perry, are you there? Can you hear me?
Oh, I know why it's not working. There we go. Okay, can you hear me now?
Well, I can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, cool.
Okay.
Thanks for being on here. So, where are you located, Catherine?
So I'm in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I did something not as Perry described today. I bought an existing practice 4+ months ago. I started June 1st.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm in a small community. We have 75,000 plus or minus people in the city of Bethlehem, but in the greater kind of, we call it the Lehigh Valley, Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, it's a bigger community. We probably, I'm going to guesstimate, have 300,000 people. So the practice that I bought has been there for 50 plus years. It is the longest continuously operating optical shop in the city of Bethlehem. The owner that I bought it from had it for 38 years. And so I pay rent to the owner of the building. So, and my rent's $2,000. I share that with you guys. But I secured owner financing. I'd worked for this person 20 years ago for
did the seller finance you, or did you get financing through a bank?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the seller financed me.
Okay.
I worked for him 20 years ago for about 7.5 years. When I left, it was a detriment to his business because I went to an ophthalmology group up the street and I had a following myself, and it wasn't a detriment to his business that depleted his business. He had a growing business and he still grew the business, but I had my own following and he saw where it went. And then, as time went on, I moved and grew in different positions with my job. It is what it is, but he decided to retire. And when he retired, he called me.
Was he a solo practitioner?
Yes.
Okay. And how many?
And
I'm just trying to get
he
I'm
had,
trying to get a scope of the practice and like how many employees?
go ahead.
How many employees did he?
There's one other optician,
Okay.
and he employs a doctor for about 8 to 10 hours a week. I'm sorry,
Do you have a
8
tech?
to 10 hours a week.
Any techs?
No tech.
Okay. So the optician.
No, just,
Mhm.
yep. It is very clear, cut and dry. There was no edging done on premise when I was there 20 years ago, and you guys would love the machinery I've inherited.
Share. Tell us what do you have?
I don't even know what it is.
Because a lot of it's probably
It's
valuable and people are looking to buy it, honestly. So
well, come and buy it from me because I need the money.
yeah, you probably have like
Um,
old grinding wheels and weird manual
I
groovers and
have a heat treating machine. Does anyone here know what that means? I actually have stock glass lenses if anyone's interested.
this is awesome. Uh, cr-
But well, and it is, but when I did the numbers and I crunched the numbers before I purchased the business, I crunched them and was like, this is where I need to be. And I can do this. I have been in regional management for corporations for years. I know where to do this. And I'm 4 months in. And it's going great. I love it. I love every aspect of it. And I have to preface this by saying the business was open 29 hours a week when I bought it. And it had been for 2.5 years. Prior to that, it had been open 50 hours a week, but COVID, whatever. I'm actually trying to see if I can sustain 29 hours a week right now. It's probably going to change, but I want to try and sustain it for a little bit longer because I have kids that are teenagers. My daughter's a senior in high school. I like the family time that I have by not being committed to this. And if I can sustain it, great. Where I'm at right now after 4+ months in is, where can I cut costs? Because, yep, I hired an attorney. Yep, I hired an accountant. Yep, my bills for office supplies are ridiculous. I don't care about the nose pads and the screws and all that other stuff. There are incidentals that, as a former owner of a corporate or a former employee of a corporation, took for granted. Like, I had an unlimited Staples budget. Sure, let me order paper, paper, paper. Let me order staples and binder clips and all this other stuff. And yeah, that was a very big realization very early on. I have to seek out a good price for incidental things. Would I take any of this back? No.
Sorry, speaking about
I
paper, I was on mute. You guys probably don't know what a ream of paper costs. It is not cheap. So what you buy the box of paper, it includes 10 reams. It's like $40. You're thinking for paper,
yeah,
Or what's another thing? Scotch tape, not cheap. Packing tape.
ink.
Oh, ink toner is ridiculous. And
Yep.
I would go on eBay and I would get the refurbished ink, which is always a risk because sometimes it works, doesn't work. And yeah, you're like, did I just really pay $100 for a color toner?
Yep. Every month. And so there are some things that are incidentals that you need to try and cut costs on. What Perry hit on is this is the best adventure of my life. And part of that adventure is knowing immediately all of my frame lines. If I bought enough, we're going to give me 30, 60, 90, maybe even 120 financing. And that is a huge, huge help. Take advantage of that. Because you get a lab bill and you're like, okay, well, I figure out what my cost of goods are. And then you get the lab bill on the first of the month and you're like, wow, that lab bill's pretty high. And again, I bought a business that was existing and flourishing. I'm looking to grow the business. And by growing the business, I bought a business that wasn't charging enough for anything. They weren't charging enough for lenses. They weren't charging enough for AR coatings. They weren't charging enough for polycarbonate.
When you say they weren't charging enough, can you give us some realization? Like, let's say, I'm just going to throw out premium anti-reflective. Were they $10 off the mark? 20, 30, 40?
Okay, so I bought a business whose favorite progressive lens is an Ovation.
Okay, that explains it.
Not an Ovation Digital, but an Ovation.
Okay. What year did that come out? Is that like a 2006 lens or 8? Or no?
I think it was like 1984. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
But I have changed that. We do a significant amount of IoT camber lenses now, which I personally love. I do house AR coatings from my lab. I found a lab that is the greatest, cheapest place in town. And by that, I know what I do. I do it really well. That means I don't have remakes because of seg height changes and PDs. My lab doesn't have that factored into their cost.
Okay, I love it. So you, as an optician, accept responsibility for measuring things the first time, and if you don't, you're willing to pay the cost because you're getting a significant discount by not utilizing the remake policies.
A huge discount. It is amazing. I mean, doctor remakes, I get, I think, a 40% discount on, but they're few and far between because my doctor and I get along really well and I can problem solve enough. So there are some things to keep in mind when you're choosing a lab because that is going to be your biggest bill. Your biggest bill is your lab, not your frames. It's your lenses.
You have to pay your lab
initially,
bill. If you don't pay your lab bill, you can't order lenses. So it's the
don't say that. I haven't gotten there yet.
No, generally, actually, labs are kind of forgiving if you have a good relationship. So
I also don't say that.
okay.
But so with that in mind, choose your lab well. It's not about choosing the flashiest. It's not about choosing the person who does the most amazing drill mounted, crazy faceted lenses. Have an account with that. Have an account with that lab. Absolutely. You're going to need them. But choose a lab that's willing to work with you and offers really, really good pricing. Right now, where I'm at, just to wrap this up because it is getting kind of late, I'm just going to say that I'm looking to grow and expand. And yeah, I want to have a second location. I want to own my own real estate and I want to move 2 stores up from where I'm located.
Are you in a
because
what kind of area are you in? A strip center, shopping center?
no, it just I'm on a like where Dad was located.
Okay.
A main drag. There's like a bar next to me that's kind of a nicer it's a craft house place. Not a whole lot in my block except for residential, the craft house, us, and then up is some medical buildings. But I want to move like 3 blocks up because there's a spot that's got handicap accessibility right in from the parking lot. And that's a huge thing. A lot of my clientele from 30 years of working in this industry has been older people. Handicap accessibility, no joke.
I'm
Take
all
it
for
into
I'm
consideration.
all for that, and I'll say it because parking has to be super easy. And guess who spends money? Old people. People, not even old people, people over 50 years old are the ones with disposable income, and that's who I'd want to cater to. Not cute 22-year-old. I want old people.
Well, and the other thing too, and I will say we're dealing with what we have right now. Um, Oftentimes, this family business, my husband's there, and so I'm like, yeah, you don't know anything about optical, so go valet park those people. And so it's become a joke where we're like, oh, I saw you coming in with a walker. My husband's going to go park your car for you. Um, and we do go the extra mile, and that's always like I've got this cute little snack table at work. My snack table is on point with local things and snacks, and they're all individually wrapped, and I've got a Keurig and always bottles of water. Everyone's taken care of. But looking to grow, and how I'm growing is we're now faced with the fact that in 4+ months, because I'm now in my 5th month, we've got to increase prices. And we've increased prices a little bit,
Any
but
pushback?
now I've crunched. I'm sorry?
Any pushback?
So we've increased prices. Um, so when I bought the business, I knew his discount policy. Like if someone gave you pushback, you got 20% off. And I knew it was kind of a rampant thing. So taking that into consideration, I'm like, yeah, we got to increase prices. The day I went in, we increased prices. And there was no pushback because I'm like, oh, you still got 20% off.
I know you don't like
And
playing
it
the discount game probably, but sometimes there's a culture in the office and you have to respect the culture.
absolutely. And so with that being said, now we have to take another step. And here's another thing that I'm not going to lie, that sucks about being an independent owner that I have never taken into consideration. And it's freaking shipping costs. Because when that one person wants a silhouette drill mount and you don't have the exact color they want here, it's another $10 to ship it to your office. Except that happens on a regular basis. And I'm not going to stock the whole freaking kit. I don't need to do that. But that increases the costs to my patients. And they're sucking it up and they love it and they're fine because if they have a problem, they get 20% off. We're looking at now increasing contact lens pricing, which have been slowly doing. And now increasing costs on things that they've really never offered before, like a blue light filter, or a blue light AR, or specialty tinted lenses, especially polarized lenses, driveware lenses were never offered before, things like that. And they've been selling. So there's a market for products that all of the other places aren't offering, and we're trying to make that work, and it's been working.
Where's the nearest location next to you, whether it's a chain or another optometry practice? How close are they?
So the nearest is an optometry practice that's 2 miles down the road from us. And I am very conscientious, and I'm just going to put this out there to anyone else who is thinking about buying a business or starting a business. I am very conscientious when I'm buying frames because that place is 2 miles down the road. There's not another place in sight for like 4 or 5 miles, and it's going to be a chain. If Europa comes in and says, hey, I've got this new line we're carrying, the first question is going to be like, who else has it? Because I don't want to have the same product as the stuff that they have 2 miles down the road. I don't care if you're 10 miles down the road, and I don't even have a general like mileage vicinity that I'm looking at, but I want to know the practices that carry it because I don't want to have to compete with them. Here's why. They're still my allies. The friends that I have that are in that optometric practice 2 miles down the road refer to us, and we refer to them. And it's still a community, and you don't want to burn any bridges. I didn't burn any bridges, which is how I became where I am now. Like, this opportunity came to me because I didn't burn a bridge with my old boss from 20 years ago. I'm not going to burn any bridges with any of my friends or my allies now. So I'm not going to compete with them. I'll find something else. And there's always something else out there,
Yeah.
or I'll just snap it up first.
And you're right. People think, let's just throw Maui Jim out there because I talked about that earlier. Maui Jim makes a great lens, and people may think there's no other competition. There is, and you just have to suck it up that you just can't necessarily sell it. Or maybe you want to sell Oakley, or maybe you're like, oh, I really want Silhouette. Everybody asks for Silhouette. You're like, no, I gotta go do Goatee or Lindbergh or whatever else.
So
Yeah.
in closing, I'll just say that your biggest check marks on your boxes when you're starting or buying a new place is your lawyer, your accountant, and having a little bit of money in the bank. Because you need a little safety net.
Does your husband work?
Well, so he did. He is right now not. He also was the provider of our health insurance, which we now have a month to figure out a new private insured situation. In the state of Pennsylvania, that's not fun. It is very costly. We're gonna figure it out. We have no choice. I have two kids that are teenagers, so we've got to get there. But I this was a process, and so I said, listen, you set up my website. Also, I'm going to tell you, he set up my website. It's $100 a month. Or not a month. Oh, a year. I'm sorry, $100 a year. Awesome website. You can fine tune it whenever you want. The feedback we get is amazing. I get tons of hits from the website. It's working out well, but he's my marketing person. He's not on payroll right now because I'm not really on payroll right now, just to let you know.
That's kind of what I was saying is if you can, fight the urge to pay yourself, because if you need to support yourself, you need to pay yourself. As a business, I pay myself currently. I wish I didn't have to, because I would rather throw all that money back in my business to do everything I want.
And it's hard. And we knew what we were getting into. You guys, if you're getting into this, you know what you're getting into, but you're probably not going to pay yourself for a little bit, and just know that. If you pay yourself because there's a great month, then absolutely yes. And take advantage of it and just put it in savings or pay off some credit card debt. But we knew what we were getting into. And he also knows that if he wants to continue to work for me, I've already set a budget for what he has to sell on a daily basis to make me be able to pay him.
Yeah, I think that. Thanks for coming on here and sharing a little inspiration and real life guidance, because everything I talked about is theoretical. If I would do it, but I think that's a good option. Is you don't necessarily have to open cold. In a world of private equity, just to end this up, in a world of private equity where all these practices are being bought, guess what? There's thousands and thousands and thousands of optometry practices who need to be purchased within the next 5 years. And you can take it for a steal because it's not going to be the $1 million practice. That's what private equity wants. So you can go gobble up a practice doing 250,000 to 750,000 and purchase it, and you'll walk into a decent establishment with patients and customers. But you will have to do cleanup like you're doing, Catherine. You're doing cleanup slowly.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We're rebranding slowly. We want to be able to do that because we still want to be able to capitalize on the patients that are walking in from the previous owner. Buying a business that's been established for 38 years comes with an amazing perk, and that's that people are still coming in because it's habit. They've been coming here for 38 years. They don't realize the name on the door has changed. Also, I did file doing business as, and if anyone is considering buying a practice, spend the extra $70 your accountant's going to tell you to spend and file the paperwork to do doing business as and secure the old name. It's worth it.
Yeah. I love that. If people want to talk to you for personal advice, would you mind if they reached out?
Oh, absolutely. Reach out to me.
Okay. What's the best way? Facebook or email or just call the office?
Facebook's usually the easiest.
Okay.
Catherine O'Keefe is my name. I'll put it over here.
Yeah, put it in the chat, please. Well, just to kind of end this off, next week I have a really special guest, as special as Catherine. Her name is Helen Whitaker, and Helen is an optician based out of Canada, and Helen is a mobile optician. And Helen has a very interesting journey, and she started as an optician, I think, in her 40s. She worked at Costco. She built a clientele of customers at Costco. I think she was an optician for 10 years or so, and she has taken her business on the road, and she has private clientele, and she makes 6 figures as an optician, literally posting up at certain locations across the city. And she is redefining what it means to be an optician and be mobile and nimble. So it's not like people are coming in her van. She doesn't have a van. That's not her thing. But she is not the high end. She's not the low end. She's just in the middle. And I think she even states that she prefers to work with women. So she has a very defined target market, which I think is cool. So we'll have Helen on next week. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for coming. And I'll see you next week. Thanks, Catherine. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
See ya.